I could write a book about the weddings that happen up there, from runaway gypsy weddings to families turning up in the middle of the night because they didn't know the daughter was getting married. Think you can get married at 16 without parental consent. All of that. I could write a book about that place. Things that have happened to me. I had my jacket nearly ripped off my shoulders one night. Angry drunk people think they can drink all night long. Honestly, there's so many things happened in that place.
Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the podcast Chatzzz. And we've got a very, very hard to get on the podcast guest today. The hardest out of anybody. It's taken months. It's taken how many tries?
I know, I did really bad.
I had to blackmail you, didn't I, by doing a photo shoot for you to come on.
No, one good turn deserves another. So I couldn't say no.
No, I had Johnny and Lauren saying, you have to do it. Because do you realise she messaged me like on the Saturday night or like the Sunday, and I got back, I was in Cardiff or something, and she said, oh, can you do some modelling? I was like, yeah, I can do. When? Tomorrow. I was like, yeah.
I know she messaged me when I've been let down, Mum, do you know a model? I was like, oh, why don't you message Adam? Adam will be really good. She went, Mum, you do know you haven't done a podcast for him. I was like, tell him I'll do a podcast if he does a bit of modelling. Bless you, you were amazing. Really good.
Yeah, it was good fun.
Yeah, thank you for that. Got me out of a little bit. So here we go.
Right. So let's get you to introduce yourself to the viewers and the listeners. If you introduce yourself for the first time, or do you need to get the phone?
Sarah will get it upstairs.
Sure. All right, cool. Yeah, introduce yourself to everybody watching and listening.
So I'm Carol Waggott, and I own Carol's Bridal Boutique and Goodfellows Menswear on Warwick Road, which is opposite the Holston. And I am 53 years old, and I have given birth to 4 children. I have 3, Lauren, Carly and Aaron, but sadly I had a stillborn. And also a glammy. Yeah. I have a beautiful granddaughter, and I am engaged to a handsome Irishman.
Oh, very nice. It's a good introduction. Right, so the 3 facts. You said you prepared 2 hours last night. You said you're going to struggle though, didn't you? But you said you've got too many now.
I've got too many. So the 3 facts about me. Well, I said, yeah, I'm 53 and I've got 3 children. So Lauren is 28 and she went off down to Glasgow University. And she went and did an acting degree. She came back. She did a year's PGCE to become a teacher. And now she manages and runs Carol's Bridal Boutique and Goodfellows Menswear. So it's brilliant because so proud of everything she's done, as a mum would be. And she's here running the shop now. And then I've got Carly. So Carly's 25 and she is in London. And she has done a special effects and prosthetics makeup degree. And she is currently working in London as a special effects and prosthetics makeup artist and worked with some really exciting people.
Interesting.
So Carly's done special effects, prosthetics and makeup, and she has worked with some exciting people and for some exciting people. So probably a most well-known one was she worked with Ed Sheeran.
No,
and
she
did the vampires. She put all the vampires' teeth in one of his music videos. So she loved that. But she's also come back up and helped at the Sand Centre with Stage Fright. She did the Phantom's Face, and recently she did the Child Catcher in Chitty Chit Bang Bang and the Old Man Mr. Potts. So she's done quite a few. She's working in a theatre at the moment. She's doing all the wigs and the makeup down there. But yeah, she's done some exciting stuff. So very proud of her too. And then my son, Aaron, is 21 and he owns Waterforce Pressure Washing Company. And he also works at Fraser Roofing. So he's starting out life. He wants to go off and travel. So 3 children that I'm ever so proud of. And obviously, as you know, I've mentioned I'm engaged. So I have had a decade on my own. So I was on my own for 10 years. So bringing them up for the 10 years sort of in their early teens while you're running a business was quite a challenging thing. But proud that they are independent and they're getting on with their own lives. It's just, it makes me feel great and proud.
Done a good job then.
I have.
Yeah. Second one?
So my second fact is I have had over 25 stitches in my face.
Really?
Yes. And I've had no surgery or anything. This is all me. It's all real. And I have the scars under the makeup. I had a really bad skiing accident. So 25 stitches in my face that comes down from here around into my eye. Nearly lost my eye. I was, long story short, taken away down the slopes, then taken to another hospital, then somewhere else. And then I was stitched all underneath and then the top was all glued. So whenever I say to people, I'd broken nose. I had all this glued as well. People would say, "Oh my God, I would never tell you had that many stitches in your face."
No, I wouldn't even. I'm trying to see them now.
And you can see that steep scar there, and it comes right round into my eye.
But the thing is, if you didn't mention it, I would never notice it.
Yeah, and nobody else does. But I hate it because I can see it. But that's part of my all these exciting things that I do.
Yeah.
I do so.
Well, it's good storytelling, isn't it?
I do.
At least you've still got your eye.
I've still got my eye. Yeah, definitely.
But that's what I mean. Nobody would know that, I reckon.
No.
Yeah.
I mean, I am quite an adrenaline junkie,
I
have to say.
So how did that happen then? Like, what were you doing?
So it was my first day.
Yeah.
I just got there. I've had the kids all skiing. I've been on 6 or 7 ski holidays, and I went at the time with just my husband. Actually, it's not that long ago. It's only about 13 years ago. And we went on a couples weekend. So there's about 15 couples. So this is me on the first day going down the slopes. The visibility was quite poor. So I had my goggles on. And literally going down, nothing. It was my first slope, so it wasn't a big. So it was only like a red run, so it wasn't too difficult. But I just hit with one of my skis a little lump of snow, soft snow, and I hit it, and it made my ski wobble, and then it flicked it up, just one of my skis, and then that ski hit my goggles, and it was the glass that pierced my face.
Oh, really?
Inside the goggles. So my brother was there and his wife, and luckily he was the first down behind me, so you can imagine what the snow looked like with my blood. It literally just was like a flap of skin. You could see my bone underneath it.
Oh.
But they literally just packed my face with all the snow, so it was totally packed. And the next thing I just remember was kind of like what they call a ski ambulance. So I was laid on a stretcher. I was all done like a mummy. You couldn't even see my little eyeballs were like barely out. The whole of my head was wrapped up like a mummy. And then they just literally took me down the slope as quick as they could. I was in Val d'Isère in France. Mm-hmm. So got to the hospital. I was there about 45 minutes and all that. I literally never felt a thing, believe it or not. It was quite numb, and I don't know if it was the snow, what was going on.
It was like adrenaline or something.
Yeah, I didn't feel a thing. It didn't hurt. It was just nothing.
It'd be worse for like your brother seeing it, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
It would have been like...
They were panicking more than me, and they're coming in and all of the blood just kept running and running down my face. So I've been in the hospital in Val d'Isère for about 45 minutes. Then they decided they couldn't repair it. It was just too bad. And because it was my face, they wanted to make sure it was done properly. Mm. So then they put me in an ambulance, and then they sent me down the to a hospital. I think it was St. Borg or something. It was like on the down, a lot further down the mountain. It was about an hour to get there in the ambulance. Mm-hmm. And then I got in there, and then literally it was, a team came in just to repair my face. So they said that they would stitch it all underneath and make a good job as they could, and then they would glue the top of the skin together, so hopefully it wouldn't be scarring, so I was very lucky. And I think they did make a good job. And everything I'll never forget, I got in the ambulance, and everything you had to do on your credit card. So I got in the ambulance, and then when I got to the other side, this rolling shutter door went up, and then the ambulance went in and it came down, and then out came the credit card.
Really?
On it. It's £1,000 just to get the ambulance from one to the other.
Did you have travel insurance?
Yeah.
Oh,
$5,500 altogether. I put it all on my card. And then
imagine if you didn't have a big limit, or you max your limit or anything.
And I got it back. I was with Marks and Spencer's. There was no issues and everything back. So that was definitely a holiday to remember. I haven't been back skiing since. Yeah. And normally I wouldn't be worried about that because I've done loads of things. I've jumped out of aeroplanes. I did that for the Mayor's Charity of Carlisle. I was asked to do that. So I did a 15,000 foot skydive, which was amazing, in a wedding dress.
Really?
In a wedding dress. I was actually on the front page of the News and Star that day. And I hadn't opened my shop for very long, so it was a great bit of PR as well. I thought, this is great. Everybody else just jumped out normally. I'll jump out in a wedding dress and be just the odd one.
That's a great marketing thing.
It was great marketing, actually. And then I've sailed down Civic Centre also for the Mayor's Charity. I've cycled from sea to sea, Whitehaven to Sunderland. Again, that was for a charity. I've water skied. I've done gill scrambling, kayaking, canoeing.
But skiing's just not fancy it again. Yeah,
I just love it.
I wouldn't want to go skiing after that, though. To be fair,
I know. I do have to get back up there, Adam. I love the views up there out as well. I love breathtaking things, and that for me is breathtaking. It just makes you feel so alive. So I have to get back.
Yeah, sometime soon. Yeah, and the third one.
Well, there's a few things here, and I'm like, what do I say? I don't know which one to say. But as you can see, I am a bit of a. But the other one is last night I was thinking about this, and I thought, you know what? Where have I been? What have I done? what's an interesting fact? And I think, and I have done a lot, but I've visited 30 countries. I was adding them all up and I was thinking I wrote them all down. I was like, oh my God, I've been to 30 countries.
Yeah.
I love to travel. So
That's quite a lot, isn't it?
Yeah.
I don't think I've been to 30. Definitely not. Can you name them off? Have you got them written down?
I have written them down,
Yeah, go on,
but they're on another bit of paper.
Oh.
I wrote them down on my notes.
It's like two sheets of paper as well. Oh,
and I wrote them all down a bit. But honestly, I mean, yeah, I have been to I was thinking about, but there's so many other places I'd like to go to, so I'll definitely be carrying on.
Yeah. What do you like about travelling then?
I just love seeing new things. I love breathtaking views. I love different cultures. I love people. I talk forever.
Nah.
I do. I love chatting to people. I love learning things about people. I love seeing how other people live. Yeah. So we went to Thailand this year for the first time, and I've never ever wanted to go as far as, not as far as that, but I've never, we went to Bangkok and then went to Phuket. We did all the islands. We've done 15 islands in a short space of time while we were out there. And I swear my mouth just was dropped open the whole time. See, when we're coming in on the aeroplane, coming down, seeing all of that was just the most, I was like, wow, I'm so lucky to be here. I'm so lucky to be alive. I just feel really excited by it all. I think that's my personality anyways. I always look forward and just feel excited by, a lot of things. And I just think you've got to appreciate how lucky you are to be here seeing that, especially when I lost my dad at 53 and I have just turned 53. That gives you a bit of a wake up call to think, wow, this was the end of my dad's life at this age. That really gave me a bit of a right.
Yeah, because funny you say that, because say my mum and dad, they're like 61, 62, and I think their parents died when they were like 60 or 65, and they like mentioned that and bring that up, and I couldn't even imagine that, you know what I mean? It's weird, but like it makes sense, don't you? Because you think, oh, well, he only lived to that age. What age? Oh,
it was strange when I turned 53, and it didn't. I never even entered my head until that point. And then when I turned 53, I was 29 when my dad died, and there was lots going on, and and my mum and everything. And luckily, my mum's 75, and I've still got my mum, so I'm very lucky to still have my mum. But with my dad dying at 53, it was really funny because on my birthday, my mum came and she said to me, I know this will be a difficult birthday for you. I said, all right. She said, with your dad dying at 53 and everything. I was like, thanks, Mum.
Oh, thanks for the reminder. Yeah.
It was like, and it really hit me. And I thought, God, flipping heck, imagine. But Adam, I have to thank you so much for actually forcing me to do this, because it's really made me think about my life and overview it all. I've never done that before. I don't look back. I'm always one of them that look forward and I'm on to the next thing. But I sat last night for a couple of hours and there was lots of things I thought about, and going through my whole life thinking, wow, I've done a lot. I've achieved a lot. I've never thought about it in that kind of way before. And I thought, do you know what? If anything happens to me now, I've had a good life. I've had a brilliant life and I'm really happy and I wouldn't change anything. It's been amazing. And I feel really I felt quite overwhelmed last night, actually. I felt like I could have a little tear about it because I've never really sat down and thought about my life before. And I guess I'm still young, so you just
got plenty of life left in you.
Then you're going and you don't do that. And when you very first said to me, oh, it's easy to do, you only got to do 3 facts and this and that. And I thought, oh God, 3 facts about me. There's something exciting about me. I don't know, And then all of a sudden, all these facts sort of come out, like I've drove Boris Johnston's sister from
you're gonna have to say that
to Dublin. I have to say that.
Right, we only do 3, but
all the way down.
Tell everyone about that. Yeah, tell everyone about that, because we only do 3, but this is the 4th bonus one.
Sorry about this. But anyways, it's hilarious. So I went over to, obviously, my partner's from Ireland. He owns an executive chauffeur car services, and he does all the famous people when they arrive into Northern Ireland. So he looks after everybody airside at the airport. So he's met everybody, Ant and Dec, Justin Bieber, Lady Gaga, you name it. He's looked after them. Anyways, he said to me, oh, I need you to do a job for me. The Christmas edition of Celebrity Mastermind was being filmed in Belfast. So he had to move all the celebrities from different airports. And at the time, COVID was a little bit still, it was around. So they couldn't fly into certain airports. So they had to go to Dublin airport. And they flew into Belfast, but had to go back out of there. So anyways, he said, go to such and such hotel and pick up this person and take them down to Dublin. Right, okay, that's fine. So he's me. Yeah, I can do it. She'll get my suit on and I get there and I'm chauffeuring Boris Johnson's sister from Belfast to Dublin. I'm like, okay, no pressure. So we'll get in the car.
Did she look like him?
No, she doesn't look anything like him.
That's probably a good thing.
Oh, that was a good thing. And she got in the back. And then as we started driving and we'll come out of Belfast, bearing in mind, I've been to Ireland a couple of times and I have been to Dublin, but I haven't really driven the motorway a lot from A to B. So she kept asking me these questions about things that were popping up. Like, oh, that's a nice castle. What's that castle there? And I was thinking, oh, God, I don't even know what that is. Then all of a sudden we go past a brown sign that says the name of the castle. I'm like, that's... And she's like, oh, really? And I was like thinking, how cool is this? I'm like, driving along. I haven't got a clue where I'm going. Then we go past the Boyne Bridge. She asked me, oh, what bridge is this? And the sign came up, Boyne Bridge. I said, oh, that's the Boyne Bridge. And I was like thinking, I am winging this all the way to flipping Dublin. And then she all the way down in the car, obviously you have to have the music off and be quiet. If they want to talk to you, you'll talk. And she asked me obviously why I was English and why I was, in Northern Ireland. So I've met a really nice guy and, I'm just helping him out at the moment. I've actually got a wedding shop. So I was getting my little plug in there. I've got a bridal shop in Carlisle.
Come to me, yeah.
And a menswear shop. And this is what I do. So she was interested a little bit.
Social media.
She was a little bit interested in my life too. So we chatted. Then she gets on the phone to her mum and then she's talking about Boris and his little things that was going on. Obviously, I can't say that's all confidential, but, there was chatty with her mum and, and about magazines and this and that. So, yeah, it was quite surreal. I dropped her off and she said, thank you very much, Carol. That was a very pleasant journey. Thank you very much.
Pleasant.
Have a safe journey back. And I was like, what? I've done it.
She didn't have a clue. No idea.
Oh my God, she had no idea. I just thought, yeah, that's cool.
That's so funny.
Yeah, that is funny actually. So those are...
So you're not that boring, are you?
No, I might not be that boring. I've got a little few facts there for you, Adam. I'm having a look at my notes. Have I missed anything off? Yeah.
Should we talk about what you were like when you were little, growing up?
Wow, when I was little growing up. Yeah.
What did you...
Adam, I was into everything.
Really?
Everything. Oh, yeah. My mum didn't get a free night in. I was always off doing something. You'll laugh at me, but honestly, I was. I played the accordion for 10 years.
The accordion?
Accordion.
That's so random. I've never heard of anyone who plays that.
Well, in them days, I used to go to the Runbar School of Music and I played the accordion for 10 years and I used to do the Carlisle Musical Festival. Mm-hmm. Came second place once in the music festival. I also had an organ. I played the organ. Granda used to come up on a weekend, used to love at Christmas, I played the organ and they all used to sing to me. Then with the day, we didn't have mobile phones. We didn't have mobile phones. We had to entertain ourselves in whatever way we did. So one night of the week I was out and I was playing the accordion. And then one night I was out and I had my organ so I can read music. And then I would be off and I'd be doing swimming club. And then I did gymnastics. I also did Scottish dancing for 8 years. So I was up and down the country every Sunday doing competitions. I'm very competitive too.
So what's Scottish dancing? Are you going to give us an example right now?
So I would do the Highland fling or the sword dance.
I don't know what that is, Carol. You're going to have to show everyone.
Do you want me to do it? Honestly, I had all the outfits, the kilts, I had the Irish jig outfit, the sword dance outfit. I loved it. I did that on a Friday night.
That's so random though. How did that come about?
I know. I was telling the girls about before and Sarah couldn't believe I could play the accordion.
Yeah, I know. I don't know, like at school, I would personally think of like the recorder or like the keyboard or something like that. I wouldn't ever think of the accordion or like a hobby being the Scottish dancing. I wouldn't ever think of that.
I know. I had a friend who used to play the accordion and she used to, and I used to love listening to her playing it.
Yeah.
And I thought, I'm going to have a go at that. So yeah, I had a little one to start with and then it moved up to a big 72 vase, a big red one, and it was like a marble effect. I loved it. So yeah, we sit it on my knee and then yeah, my mum. The only thing is, when I came home from school, and when you were at secondary school, it wasn't cool to have to sit for an hour learning to play an instrument. And my mum would not let me go out to play until I'd done a minimum of half an hour's practice every night, Monday to Friday. So I had to practice. My lesson was on a Saturday morning. So yeah, I did that. And then on a Friday night, I used to go Scottish dancing every Friday night straight from school. And that was a good hour, maybe more. And then I used to do all these competitions.
That's cool though. I was like, how did that Scottish dancing come about though? Like
it was a class that was being taught in Brampton, where I used to live and went to school. And I remember it was where the old Green Door, we used to call it Green Door Nursery. But yeah, Sylvia Graham she used to take us there Scottish dancing, and I loved it. And I got really into it. And because I'm competitive, when I am competitive, I want to be the best and all of that. So, and had all the outfits, loads of pictures. My mum used to put my hair up in a bun. And the hair had to be right. I had about 5 or 6 outfits. Cost my mum a flipping small fortune for the whole outfit. Because them days, there were ones that when, the proper thing. But I loved it. I used to go I was up in Scotland. I'd be down the country. I was all over.
That's
but
cool,
I was always so busy, and then maybe on a Tuesday night was swimming club, and then there was always something going on. So if you were to say to my mum, what was she like growing up?
What would you say?
She'll say she was never at home. She was always out and about, and honestly,
Cost me a fortune.
Cost a fortune, Mum. Think about it. My mum ran me she'd give me every opportunity that I wanted to do, and then you just did something. I used to,
take it for granted at the time, don't you? And you look back and you think, but yeah.
If I wanted to do something, jump on the push bike or biking over 3, the next village along. I had friends in a different village, 5 miles, right? At that time, your mum, right, I'm not taking you, I've took you to all these after school things and all these so jump on the bike and off you'd go. I was in the house. He wouldn't get us in the house.
It's different, we were saying before the podcast, it's different then than it is now, isn't it?
Yeah.
People wouldn't do that. I'd just be on the iPad or something.
Exactly. And then when I got to 12 or 13, that was me off out working as well.
Yeah. That was quite early.
I started working because my mum and dad, I've got great work ethic with my mum and dad, because my dad was a builder, and he built our first bungalow. We lived up in a small village in Holborn Gate. So I've grown up in a small village, and, so they had the building business, which then ran on to, believe it or not, an off-license stroke video shop. So they brought the first video shop to to Brampton, which was what anybody did. And at that time, it was like Betamax, the VHS. You don't even know what that is,
No.
Betamax.
I don't have a clue.
Honestly, they had the films and rented it out. Well, they rented it out, a little room outside. It was a shop in Brampton, and it was called Atkinson's Paint Shop, because in them days, you had independent little shops like that. Now it's B&Q and all of that. Yeah. So, Betsy that used to own the shop, bless her, she was, they were sort of an elderly couple, I guess then, but I used to go and help her on a Saturday. And I used to go and run up and down the ladders and used to pull down rolls of wallpaper to let people see and get the paint for them. And I did that every Saturday for Betsy for quite a few, probably a couple of years, because, like I say, my mum and dad had the video shop in there. So I started off doing that. And then that went on to waitressing in the Howard Arms in Brampton. And then I would do glass collecting. And then I was in the pub, and then I had a job at Carlisle through the day after I finished at Betsy's at the shoe shop. So that would be when I get to 16, but I was young, I was always working. Always.
It's important, isn't it, to earn your own money?
Oh yeah, definitely.
To learn the value of money as well.
Yeah. And I learned that quite early on, because, you want your own, you want to do your own thing. I like things. I wouldn't think twice. So when I was young, right, I once bought these pair of shoes, right? They were 3 months' wages in one go, right? And they were £130 at the time. I'm talking 20, and they were a fortune. They were all different colours, and I just homed in on these shoes. And that was me, that you did things like that then. You didn't save any money, you spent it all. I couldn't blow 6 months' wages on one pair of shoes.
You didn't have to pay for them, did you? Apart from that.
I know. That was mad. I think I'll never forget that, because that was crazy. Hey?
What shoes are they?
They were these, probably some Kurt Geiger things with all the different colours, and you could, in town it was a bit more exciting shopping even back then. But I'll never forget blowing so much money. My mum couldn't believe it, that I was spending all this money that I'd earned over all these months on just one pair of shoes. And I was like, but that's what you did, and you could do that because you'd earned it yourself. You didn't have to ask your mum and dad for the money. And I have brought my kids up to be exactly the same. They've all worked from when they were 12 and 13, believe it or not. We've been lucky because they've gone into family businesses. It's not as easy now for, I guess, kids at that age with all the rules, the regulations, laws. There was nothing back then that, if a child at the age of 13 or 14 worked, they could only do this many hours and all of that. There was nothing back then. There wasn't all the rules like there is now. And, so my kids all worked in the sandwich bar. Lauren worked in the sandwich bar, and Carly from when they were 12 and 13, helping. Aaron was even in the Belt as well at Holborn Gate washing dishes, bless him. But they've all worked and had their own money, and luckily they're all so independent. And I think growing up, when I think about the biggest thing my mum and dad gave me was definitely my independence. Believing in you, supporting you, and getting you out there.
It's important, isn't it? Like you say, if you go out to a workplace, wherever it is, you do become more independent.
Yeah,
because
very.
you learn how other people work, like working in a team and working with like the public, and then, like you say, earning your own money and thinking, oh, well, if I work 6 months, I can afford them shoes. So you kind of work out what the value of money is as well. Because I don't know, I feel like, I don't have any kids, but if you just give the kids stuff when they get to 18 or when they finish uni at 22 and they have to pay for their own stuff, to be like, shit, that's quite expensive. You know what I mean? They don't understand how much things actually cost.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. And make them all go shopping. They can all cook. They can all put the washing in. Aaron's 21 and he does all his own cooking. He'll put his washing in. I mean, I help when I'm at home, I'll do the washing. But if I'm not there, he does all the washing. Then he cooks, he goes shopping for himself because he's all into his fitness. He eats certain foods. And so he does all of that himself. He prepares it all, you know. I think bringing your kids up to be independent and is just the greatest life skill that you can give them.
Like you say, giving them life skills is important.
100%. You know, not doing everything. I mean, you know, you want to spoil them and this and that, but that's not what I call. Yeah, it's definitely giving them the life skills.
Yeah. So then, what did you want to do, or what did you want to be when you were growing up?
Do you know? I didn't have any agenda at all. None whatsoever.
Just going with the flow.
Do you know what I really wanted to be when I was growing up? An air hostess.
Really? Why?
Yeah, because I think I was waitressing and I loved it. And I thought, I want to travel. I want to get in the sky. It'd be great. I always had these dreams about flying. Yeah. I was telling the girls about this before. They thought I was mad. Because I just wanted to fly. Like as if my body would fly. And I know, these I couldn't get my head around. I was like, I'd love to stand on a cliff and just fly, be able to just fly. And I used to have all these dreams about flying. And I ended up having to Google it one day, thinking, why do I always have these dreams about wanting to fly? I'd love my body to fly and just freely fly everywhere over the top of everything and just...
So like paragliding kind of thing. Yeah.
So, I mean, I've done that and I've done the whole the skydiving and everything, but just, I don't know. Being free or what, I don't know, but I just loved that feeling. So here's me thinking I'll be an air hostess. And it's funny because I wrote all my applications out and sent them all off and everything. And I think I was too fat at the time.
Too fat?
Too fat. You know, I have to say that now, eh?
No, why would you say that?
You have to be a certain weight, or if you get put on the fat camp, if you
really?
Yeah, in them days when I was applying. Yeah. So I'm talking 35 years ago, but you can't do that now.
What did they actually say then? What's the feedback?
When I was growing up at school, to be honest, I'm probably a similar weight to what I am now, to be fair. I wasn't a skinny bird or anything. I was a good, I liked doing all the hockey rounders, running, this, that, I was a good size. I'd always be a size like 10 to 12 at school. And yeah. But when you were going to be an air hostess, then you had to be stick thin and, it was all, the glamour. But it's not like that. It's far from that today, isn't it? It's like everybody's included. But no. And then what
was the feedback then from the application? What did they actually say?
So you had to be a certain weight and a certain size.
They actually asked you
within a bracket of a weight. That wasn't my bracket.
And what?
I'm solid bones, you see. My weight in my bones.
They actually asked for the weight.
Yeah, it was that was.
It's crazy. Like I say, you'd never be able to get away with that today.
When I think back and I'm thinking, geez, you can't do any of that now. So no. So and I actually knew somebody that did become an air hostess, and if you put a little extra few pounds on, they take you off flying and they put you in what like they call a fat. It's like the naughty step. That's the fat step.
What, you absolutely like the check-ins and the check-outs at the desk and stuff instead?
Yeah. So you moved off that. So I remember wanting to do that. And then when I left school, I was leaving school straight away. I loved school. I loved growing up at school and I had loads of friends and I enjoyed it. I was more creative and artistic than, but I did quite well it was GCSEs then, and I left school and thought, what am I going to do? My mum and dad had their business and I thought, go out and see a bit of the world, not just work for them, do you know what I mean? And, you get different skills, don't you? So I went to this place called called YTS. It's probably got a different name now, so Youth Training Scheme.
Yeah, I've heard of it, yeah.
I went to do that and it was called Sumlock Calculating Services. And I thought, I was in there literally a couple of weeks. I thought, this is not me behind a desk, is it? Bored out my brains. I need to be with the people.
Giving energy.
I need to be giving energy. It has to be with customers. I have to be bouncing off, lots of things going on. This is not me behind any desk, just no transferring phones or trapped or anything. No, I have to get out there. So I decided I was going to work at Cara House. There was a job on reception. So it was for Scottish and Newcastle at the time. So I went and I worked at, it's different, just had that many different names, but Cara House at the time. So I went to work for Scottish and Newcastle and they soon moved me off down to Preston. And I went down there for about 6 months and I ran the reception there, managed the reception down there. So it was more hotel reception and all of that. So, and obviously I could waitress and I did lots of extra things and lots of extra shifts because, you know, it was great. You could do as much overtime as you wanted then. There was no sort of, you're only allowed to do this many hours or that many hours. So I'd be working my reception shifts 3 till 11, 7 to 3. And then I'd come off my 3 o'clock shift and go onto the bar or waitress, and then it was all extra money. So you had your nice fat packet of money. It was all cash then. You had a big fat cash packet. It was great when you're seeing it. Nowadays kids don't see that. It's just all numbers going into the banks and real cards, isn't it? But then you got all this money and you counted it, and it was just the great feeling of having a fat pay packet to yourself. I loved it. Loved doing loads of overtime because the more you did, the bigger packet you got. Great. So then I worked for them all that time, and I'm still working for them. And then I remember one day coming home and my mum said, we're going up to Gretna. I was like, all right. So this is me at 20.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, okay. So I'd been working for Scotch in Newcastle for a couple of years by then. We're going up to Gretna. All right. So off we went. And we went to this hotel. It was called the Cables Hotel. And it was a bit run down and a bit overgrown outside. And I remember my dad talking to the guy in the car park and everything. And the next minute I looked over and he just shook his hand and I thought, what's that? My mum said, oh my God, we've just bought a hotel. I was like, what? We've just bought a hotel? And my mum went, yeah. She went, I think your dad's going to want you to run the hotel. And I thought, oh my God, I thought, I can't do that. I can't run a hotel. And then my mum had worked in hotels. She'd worked in Hexham. That's where my mum had met my dad. So my mum had worked in hotels as well. So she had plenty of experience too. But my dad was just a one that, you know, when he saw a good deal, he'd take it. He always said little apples are sweet. He was a builder. There was a lot of land that came with the hotel, which eventually he built onto flats and more extension to the hotel and things. So he had a lot of plans obviously in his head. But when I was 20 at the time, I was thinking, oh my God, how am I going to do this? And it was all just a massive learning curve and just literally throwing yourself in, you know, get your sleeves rolled up, get on with it.
Yeah.
And learning and doing it. So
at 20 years old.
So at 20 years old, my dad had bought this hotel. And I remember the first thing we did was we got out all the lawnmowers and we did all the gardens because they were up to your knees, the grass and everything. So we did it all outside. And at the time, all it did was basically, it opened for Sunday lunches because there was a Sunday market across the road. There was a car park. My dad thought, we'll get 50 pence for every car that comes on the car park because it had a huge car park. So that was the first thing.
Businesses, yeah.
So that was the first thing, send somebody out to do the car park. So it was all the 50p's for the car park. And then we did the inside. And it didn't really, it had 5 bedrooms. It was, you know, it was quite small. It was actually an old doctor's house, to be fair. But they had been running it as a hotel and taking guests in. But they were just really had like a small bar and they did a few meals on a Saturday. And then obviously the biggest thing was they did Sunday lunches for the market because Gretna Market was huge at the time, which at the minute there's not, now it's gone.
Yeah.
Did you ever hear of Gretna?
I was going to say, I've never heard of Gretna Market. No.
At the time, I mean, Gretna had a football team too, but the Gretna Market was huge. You know, anybody my age that would listen to this, I think, oh yeah, Gretna Market. Yeah. But it was really, really big, you know, as big as, you know, it had hundreds of stalls on it. It filled the whole football car park. And it would be one of the busiest markets around. I mean, I'd remembered visiting it when we were from Holborn Gate. That was your day out. You know, it was exciting. You were going to Gretna Market and you're always going to get a good deal. So they did all the Sunday lunches. That's mainly what it did at the start. And then, within I'm saying we were there for 19 years. We had the hotel. It was almost 20. And we bought it, had 5 bedrooms. Within a year, my dad had put an extension on and we had a big function room on the bottom for 150 people and 6 more bedrooms on top. So then it became 11 bedrooms and then it had the function room on for Gretna weddings were a big thing at the time. So I soon got to know about the weddings. They used to do 6,000 to 7,000 weddings a year in Gretna, believe it or not. So there was a market to be tapped into. Yeah. So started learning more and doing a lot about that. And then literally just learning and building. I soon learned how to cook. So then I would do a lot of the cooking. At one of my busiest times, I remember doing nearly 200 Sunday lunches for the market and I was running the whole kitchen myself. So I did do honestly everything. You go doing the bedrooms. And then my dad had done another extension for another 20 bedrooms. So then it became 31 bedrooms, the hotel.
So that's a big jump, isn't it?
That was a big jump. And we had to obviously enlarge the kitchen then and enlarge the restaurant and enlarge the bar because they were currently just surface and looking after, you know, the 11 bedrooms. And that's a massive jump because then if you add in 20 more bedrooms on, then that becomes a minimum of 40 guests. and some were family rooms. So that becomes, and that's a big jump from when the hotel was only really occupying up to 30 guests anyways. So then soon we could have 70 to 80 people stay with us.
Yeah.
So it was like, oh my goodness, right, okay, so we'll do that. And then, bang, sadly, my dad died. I was cooking breakfast the morning my dad died. I had 18 guests in. I was doing it myself and the phone rang and it was literally the hospital. I'm going to get emotional in a second. I can feel it coming. It was the hospital and they just said, your dad's died and you need to get to hospital. And I was like, what? He had been in hospital. He wasn't very well. It was literally the turn of the millennium and he'd been in and he'd gone out and he'd gone back in again, but never thought anything like that. It was a massive heart attack. And I was like, I remember just screaming really loud. God only knows what the guests thought. A member of staff came running and thought, what's happened? And then I couldn't even speak, to be honest. I couldn't speak. I remember running out into the car park, just screaming. I was trying to find my brother because I thought I've got to get from here to the hospital and then all these guests in the hotel, what am I going to do? But you just don't think about it at the time. Everything just all happens, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So that all happened in between. And obviously, my mum, but that was a big, massive learning curve for me. I felt like I grew up 15 years in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
A lot of things, had to change, obviously, then you were dealing with like banks and solicitors and, accountants and all of that. Whereas my mum and dad had done all that before, I was 29. I mean, I used to manually do all the staff wages, the P11 deduction sheets. I did all of that myself. I did all my own accounts. I did my own VAT. I mean, my mum taught me all of that anyways. My mum used to do all of that for my dad's building business, but thankfully, the life skills being taught, so I could do all of that myself. We only had an accountant at the end of the year just to literally do the year end and tell you what tax to pay. So I could do all of that. And to be honest, because I've got all the background and learning all of that, it was a little bit easier. But that happened. So that was a little bit of a halt. But my dad had all these plans already. So, me and my mum needed a project because when something like that happens, for me, you throw yourself into something to focus on.
Keep busy.
To keep busy and and your mind off it. And my mum too. My mum's first project was doing this beautiful fountain room with loads of flowers and a big water feature that you could see as you walked from down a big corridor out into the gardens of the hotel. So my mum threw herself into that and it was so beautiful. And I always walked past that thinking of my dad because she'd done that, trying to, get around or get over it. And then we said, right, let's put the 20 bedrooms on. This is what he wanted. So let's carry on. So me and my mum on our own, Adam, I have to hire in mobile kitchens. I didn't want to close the hotel because we wanted to bring money in. So we hired in mobile kitchens. We were operating a hotel out of a mobile kitchen in the garden while we were enlarging the kitchens and then doing the 20 bedroom big extension on the side. So, me and my mum then just threw ourselves into that, which when I look back, I think, how did we do it?
I was going to say, did you want to do it or just feel like you had to do it? Or what was kind of the reasoning behind it? Because obviously it's such a big thing to happen and then you carry on the project and just go even more.
I think because my dad wanted to do it. And I think because we need something to focus on and a challenge. And my God, I could write a book about the hotel, seriously write a book about everything. The hours, that was the hours put into the hotel, the long hours. My longest shift there could have been easily 19 hours. Yeah. From getting up for breakfast, your staff not turning in. I mean, at one part I had 55 staff when we had the 31 bedrooms and everything. And you're still there at 4 the next morning because that member of staff didn't turn in or that. There was always something every day. And at the time I had my 3 children, believe it or not, as well in amongst all of this. So not only have I got 3 kids that are young, I'm running a hotel and, but all with the support of my mum, we all, but I still wouldn't change anything. I loved it all and it's taught me so much and so many, life skills. And when we sold it, I missed the staff, but I didn't miss the hours of working in it. It was very hard. Yeah. It's easier at times, but then harder at others. I remember one night I didn't have a night porter and something happened and then I got called out in the middle of the night. So I had to get Lauren out of bed and chuck her in the back in a quilt. And I was I've done all of that. Yeah. When you've got kids, this is what you've got to do and you run business, run your own business. And I think my kids have saw all that too. And I think it does teach them things and, everything, I always think all things happen for a reason anyways, but I do think that you know, we did get through and we built the extension and we ran it actually after my dad died for another 9 years or so. After my dad died, 11 years, 9 or 11 years after my dad died, we ran it with all the bedrooms on. And it was, you know, we had some famous people came and stayed, Darren Day, Kate Garraway, you know, but a few things happen up there and done, you know, a few things, and obviously weddings, that's where I learnt my wedding trade. Yeah. Weddings was the biggest thing in Great Neck. I could write a book about the weddings that happened up there, from runaway gypsy weddings to families turning up in the middle of the night because they didn't know the daughter was getting married. Think you can get married at 16 without parental consent. All of that. I could write a book about that place. Things that have happened to me. I had my jacket nearly ripped off my shoulders one night. Angry drunk people think they can drink all night long. Honestly, there's so many things happened in that place, but the staff were always there. Everybody watches, you know, looks after you, and had some good, I did have a couple of, you know, good assistant managers behind us and that worked with us. The staff were great. I did miss all of them, but the staff are your assets at the end of the day, aren't they? They're what make it tick. So
definitely, you can't do it all yourself, can you?
Appreciation as well. You know, if you appreciate them, you work with them. I remember people being sick in the toilets and all sorts of things happening in that place. And you go in and you just roll your sleeves up and get on with it with the staff, and they're all like, you know, and then they see you do it. Lead by example. I would never get a member of staff or anybody to do anything I would not do myself, ever. And I'd let them see me do it, because then I know they're gonna, you know, they do appreciate you for that. They really do. And
what a leader does, though, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. That's important. So I remember I had a massive group of gypsies in one day. They came from actually Ireland, and oh my goodness, they really trashed the place. They had a £2,500 worth of damages when they left, Bill. There was horrendous things. I mean, I could, you know, name a few things like peeing in pots all around the place, to shitting all over the place, wiping with towels, throwing furniture out the window, smashing doors. I mean, like literally trashed the place. None. It was horrendous. I when they left, you know, I mean, luckily you know, the mum and dad were okay, but it was all these people that came. I was going in and out of bedrooms, opening doors. I ran up telephone bills on the phones. There was horrendous things that happened. I remember going in and just like, out, everybody, out. Oh my goodness, we had the police on standby in the garden. And then the man counted out the £2,500 in cash. I thought, you're not leaving until you pay that money. I was going to say, at least because you become so protective, because it's your place and it's your property, that I was like a fireball inside. I thought, no chance. And afterwards, I'm like a quivering wreck thinking, what happened there? What if this? What if that? And did you know, at the time your adrenaline's gone and you don't care because you're so...
You don't think of the consequences.
I know that. You just
stand up for yourself.
There were the days.
It's just mental.
Yeah, there were the days running the hotel just so... I mean...
But you look back now and think, how the f*** did I do that?
I did. I look back thinking I actually dealt with some crazy people. I mean, really crazy people. I nearly got my jacket ripped right off and I couldn't care. His nose was at my nose and he was squashing it like that so hard. And he was in my face and he was talking to me. And I was so angry. And I remember thinking, I had security cameras on the wall. And I remember thinking, just walk backwards and get him in there, because if you hit us, I'm taking you straight to the floor. I was going through my... what? But all I was get me into the stand in case he hits me, and then I'm going, and it was all because the bar was closed, and it was like very early in the morning, and like it was all over. It's alcohol fueled, isn't it? With you know, and I remember the police just bursting through the door, like, and he literally, and he had my shirt like that, and then afterwards, I remember just being a quivering wreck. And then you get over that and you're like thinking, Cumbria, he's right, when's the next one coming? Because it literally, they're dealing with the public, and when alcohol, it's a really sometimes hard thing. And weddings and emotions, you know, people turning up in the middle of the night because their daughter's getting married. They had no idea she was getting married. Then they're fighting because, no, you're not getting married tomorrow. Yes, I am. And, you know, it was... I mean, we had some interesting times, but I loved it. I did love it. And I learned a lot. You know, I learned that I am quite a strong lady and I can deal with a lot of things. And staff as well. We had a lot of things, you know, with staff too. That's another story. Yeah. Definitely.
So what made you want to sell it then?
I think my mum really wanted to retire, but not retire, if you know what I mean. I think we came to that point where my kids were going in a different direction. I was doing it, and it was like, will the kids want to do this? we've done 19 years. I would say a lot of people that own hotels and work in them themselves would do maybe 10 to 15 years. We'd already been sort of said about that. And I thought, I don't want this for my kids. My life's been really hard. I have missed out on maybe a little bit of them growing up, but they came into the hotel too. And I just thought, me and my mum sat down and said, how much more do we want to do? And the time was right. It just was right. The market was good. The whole tax laws were about to change when selling properties like that. So we decided to sell. And you know what? We had 18 viewings in the first week and 18? We sold it within 10 days.
That's impressive, isn't it? Yeah, that's...
I'd like to say how much my dad bought it for and sold it for too. It was crazy. Yeah. Obviously, a lot of money was borrowed and things to do extensions and stuff. But yeah,
timing.
My dad, he just had that, I remember obviously when my dad died and there was the headline in the paper was everything he touched was like turned to gold. He had the Midas touch and I was like, and he just knew. And, so when we just felt the time was right. I said to Mum, don't worry, I'll think of something else. It'll be wedding related, whatever I do. Sure. And I've always felt a real connection with the bride. So I often looked after the bride on the day. So I'd go up and I'd dress her and I'd, look after her. And on the day, that was part of what I did in the hotel. I fussed around people and I loved it. I just felt really proud that we made their day really good and we looked after them. So for me, it was about getting to know them. So I've got to know most of the brides. And I just thought, I'm going to do something with it. I'm going to go. And it was burning inside me to think, right, let's do wedding dress shop. I'd love that. But I hadn't actually done anything with the fashion market or anything like that. And my sister-in-law, my brother was getting married and, she'd obviously got a dress and we went to a few places and, after we sold the hotel, I was thinking I knew so many people in the industry, photographers, videographers, car drivers, florists, cake makers. I knew them all so well. I'd worked with them for 19 years. It was like, Carol, you have to stay in this industry. You are brilliant at what you do. And I was like, do you know what? I do love it. I love it a lot. And it is a pressure of a wedding because you only get if anything goes wrong, you get told, we get one chance at this. You've ruined my wedding day. So that's why you're so extra careful and extra sort of protective, I guess. And, looking after people was what I loved the most. So with going out and doing that with my sister-in-law, I thought, I'm going to have a look at this. So I started researching the whole of the area, what was out here already in bridal shops, what they all stock. And I wanted to do something different to what any of them were doing and stock something different and offer, for me, the biggest thing that I was going to do was going to be the experience. The service. I was going to go out and dress all my brides. That's something that nobody had seen before. And I just thought it'll be a really nice way it'll be a much less hours. I'll be open from 10 in the morning till 4 in the afternoon. I do 6 hours a day, not 16. And it'll fit into everything. So I just thought, you know what? I am going to do that. And I said to my mum, and my mum's, I'm here for you. So after we sold the hotel, I had about 18 months gap. It took us about 6 months to wind the hotel down. We didn't just sell up and then that was it, do nothing. Mm-hmm. Obviously, we had all the accounts and all the bills and everything was still rolling, like you were still there for the first 2 months, really, that way, but not working it. So it took a little bit to wind it down. But then I started feeling lost, very lost.
No, like purpose.
No, yeah. It was a horrible feeling, Adam. I'm not that kind of person. Yes. And everybody's like, you've done that and all you think in your head, you're so busy, you just want a bit of time to yourself. But actually, I didn't want time to myself. I wanted to, if you had something to do, it's like, I'll do that tomorrow. Or that'll do tomorrow. Or I can't be, but and slowly you were starting to do everything tomorrow or the next day or the next day. Mm. So it's like, no, right, let's get going. So bought loads of bridal magazines, researched lots of suppliers, the Cumbria. I had a spreadsheet going and the spreadsheet had everything on it. And then I went off to Harrogate, my first bridal show. My mum came with me and I was really overwhelmed. It was huge. And I thought, oh, I'm not sure. This is massive. So good look around it. Came back and thought, right, I'll now look for somewhere to have my premises. I looked all over. I went to Penrith. It was my accountant that said, Carol, there wasn't a bridal shop in Penrith at the time. And one did open shortly after, but there wasn't at the time. And he said, Carol, stay close to your competitors. That's the only piece of advice. And I think you should stay in Carlisle. And he named a couple of places. So I started viewing, but I seen this shop and the minute I seen it, I fell in love with it. And I went through the shop, and it was in its worst state. The top 2 floors hadn't even ever been used, and the top floor was just like literally wasn't even like floorboards you were walking on. It was so, and I was like thinking, and I thought I must be crazy. But anyways, I knew the landlord was going to get it all put right, and he's been, my landlord's been great. But you've got to get a feeling for the place, haven't you, to make sure that you can see it work and how it's going to be.
Vision.
So fell in love with it and thought, do you know what, that's definitely going to be the place. So put an offer in, accepted straight away, and thought, right, now I've got to go and start buying some wedding dressings. So I was lucky because my mum came with me and supported me. It was absolutely great. Obviously at the time, the kids were, still at school and all of that. Not long after I got it all pulled together and opened the shop, me and my husband split up. So that was 13 years ago. So I had like a full 10 years of building the business at the beginning on my own with 3 young children.
Difficult, yeah.
Yeah. And then my mum was taken into hospital. She had a double aneurysm. So my mum went for massive open heart surgery. And she was in hospital for 2 weeks in intensive care. So I remember locking up from here every day at 4:00 and going straight to Newcastle. And I did that every day for 2 weeks when she was in hospital the first time. And she had a main aorta, had 2 aneurysms, 6.4 and 6.5 centimetres. So basically like a ticking time bomb.
Yeah.
So that was a massive, massive shock. But obviously you were very excited. The shop was in and all of that.
Really?
And then she had got over that, and not but 8 weeks later, she had to go back and have open heart surgery again and have the second one done. So she was cut from down the middle and opened up. And then the second time they cut all her ribs at the side, but she didn't recover as well from the second one as she did from the first. She was in hospital for about 8 weeks the second time. So we slowly got into a way of going about 3 or 4 times a week rather than every day. So starting off here wasn't as easy as I thought it was going to be, because I was on my own and my mum was my support, and my mum was helping me in the shop. And then obviously I had the 3 kids and I was going through a divorce. And then, my mum had to recover from this operation. So
how did you keep going?
I did actually take somebody on 2 days a week. I didn't have a clue, Adam. I was so frightened. I was frightened, but I wasn't. I knew it was going to work. I just had this feeling, because if you believe in yourself and you put everything into it, then I just kept going and kept going and kept going. And, I just
drive inside,
I just had the drive.
Going,
And I just thought, I'll get through it. It's fine. The kids were brilliant. Lauren, it was like a mini me. She's my oldest, and she is my little mini rock too. She would have grew up quite fast when that happened, because the kid, my mum is like their dad to them. She's just everything. So I knew we'd get through it. I mean, they were going off to universities and, wanting their lives to, be good too. So, but you know what? You get through it. You do get through it. And I don't look back. I just keep going forward all the time. We'll get through it. That day, it'll be a better day. If you have a bad day, tomorrow will be a better day. This, and you just deal with everything. I am very resilient. I just think next thing, whatever you're going to throw at me next, I'll just keep
find a solution.
I always find a solution, and I think that's probably why I'm successful, because I don't dwell on anything, and I always try and find, a positive out of a negative.
There's always
but I have got some amazing people behind me too. I've got an amazing mum for a start, and she's supported me in everything. And, when she got over everything, and eventually, she was probably out of action for more like a year. But when she did come back, she's in and out. She's still in and out of here now. She's in and out steaming, taking up trousers. All my staff in here call her Queenie. That's her nickname, Queenie. She gets called Queenie.
She's Queenie.
I'm Glammy, she's Queenie. Because she's upstairs and she's sewing, she's steaming. She's done a lot for me. And like I say, when we first opened, we only opened on the ground floor. I've got 3 floors, but we only opened on the ground floor. And the ground floor, I just did the bridal and that was it. And I had one girl that worked for me for 2 days a week. I took her on part-time, and she did seamstress work as well. And she was, a seamstress. So she did all the dresses, alterations, and she was a brilliant support network to me, Nina. And she does all of our alterations and fittings now. She's got her own business, and she works now full time, because obviously at the beginning, we're talking sort of 13 years ago now, she came here to do 2 days and then would do alterate. And as it's built up, soon she did 1 day and then no days, because the alterations got busy, and now she's just flat out doing that. But she was amazing at the start for me. I've got a lot to thank Nina for. Learnt me about the inside out of a dress, and then eventually you'd take on another member of staff when you could afford to, and then another one. And then we went up another floor, and then we did bridesmaids. And then, so the business has literally grew, because at the beginning it was just wedding dresses. And I only had 40 dresses when I first opened my door.
Really?
I've got about 250 now. And I do bridesmaids. I've got like occasion wear, guest wear, mother of the bride. Yeah. And then, 4 years ago, we opened Goodfellows Menswear. So everything is growing. It's still growing. We're still going to expand. I'd love to be, I'd love the menswear to be in a standalone shop on its own. So, we are growing. Just put the bar in here. How cool is my bar?
I was going to say, when I came in, I was saying, when's that? He said,
well, it literally is about this. For me, like I've always said at the beginning, it's about the service. It's what you can do for them. I wanted to go out and, I want it all to be an experience. People want a little bit more now from when we very first opened. Even when they first opened, I'd go out and dress my brides. I love dressing them. I feel really emotional with them on the day. I often get left on my own with just the bride before a dad would arrive. So we have that connection, because that's a really special moment, being left on your own with a bride, because it's a very emotional day. There's all sorts of things going through the head. They might have lost the mum or the gran or this or that, and a lot of things happen on the day. And then, also in case, anything does happen, you're there to fix anything, sew anything, take blood off something that, somebody got on something. I've got all these tricks of the trade, Adam. I'm just there as a fairy godmother. But yeah, so it's about the experience. And, I said to Lauren, last year, I think we should put a bar, people want a glass of Prosecco, they want to celebrate. But Adam, I can't just give anybody a glass of fizz, even if you give them it for free. You've got to have a license to do it. So, and I'm part of the RBA as well, which is the Retailers Bridal Association. Now that is literally the cream of the crop when it comes to bridal shops in the country. There's only 55 shops in the whole of England and Ireland as well. In this thing, you have to turn over a certain amount of money, and you have to have, a certain reputation to be allowed to be in this forum. So we're in it, and all the brides, because I paid to be in it as well. All the brides that I have an assurance that if anything happens, like to the supplier of their dress, to me, to anything, their assurance is they will get a wedding dress for their wedding day, and they'll be looked after. So it's quite a thing for us to be in. So we're part of that too. So, and a lot of the shops in there were all putting in these little bars in the shops. And I thought, that's a great idea. I think we should maybe do that, Lauren. But then obviously nothing's ever simple, is it? You have to have a personal license. Yeah. I've had one of them before because I've had the hotel stuff, but I had to redo that because it didn't, it had ended. So I did my personal license, and I applied for the license for the shop. And so obviously we're fully licensed. So people can buy champagne. They can have their favourite cocktail. They can have a lovely...
Are you making cocktails as well?
Yeah, of course. We've got a little coffee bar, which we do Costa coffee. So there's lots going on in this little shop, Adam. So yeah, so that's been, and they've loved it. They love it. And obviously the little yes to the dress area, they all love the picture taken. We put on catwalk shows on the television screen, so they all love that. So people want to feel nice. They want to come in and feel lovely. They want to be in a lovely environment, and they love it. They come in, and the first thing they say is like, when they go upstairs to the bridal suite, they're like, wow, this is lovely. So yeah, so that's really nice too.
Because at the end of the day, a dress is a dress, isn't it? But like you say, when they come in and they have that experience, they feel good, they'll remember that, and then tell their friends or tell the mum, tell the partner, and be like, oh my God, we went in and we had Prosecco or a cocktail, and then we got a photo in there and you're showing this. And that's what people remember, isn't it?
It is. And sometimes you don't have the dress, but do you know what? If I don't have the dress, that's absolutely fine. We are not pushy here whatsoever. Because for a bride, you do get that feeling the dress is the dress. And even I get the goosebumps and the feeling of the tears when I know it's the one. I can tell by looking at a bride in a dress whether it is the one because of the way she feels it, she holds it, she strokes it. That sounds weird, doesn't it? But they do. They rub and they touch. And then that minute all of that starts happening, I know when it's the right dress before they're going to say, I know when to say, is this your dress? Are you saying yes to the dress?
That's crazy.
Can you see yourself? It is, I know.
What hit rate have you got, 95% or 100% or what are you saying?
Oh, it is. It's high, very high. Yeah. We do have that, because, the staff are all trained in what they do. It is a skill. There's a skill to selling it. And they have to know, all the dresses inside out. Because if they don't know the product, how they're going to sell it. So they have to know all the suppliers, what they can do to address and they can't. There's a lot of things changed in 10 years. A lot of the suppliers are moving forward very fast. So we can do so many changes to the dress, which we couldn't do at the start. A dress was made and that was your dress. Now we can change hemlines. We can put on different belts. We can change buttons, glass to covered buttons, to beaded buttons, to diamante buttons. We can do so many things, customizations to dresses, that it is very exciting. So they have to know all of that. They have to know all about the designers we sell, and they have to know their stock. Because when a girl comes in, she doesn't come in and choose her own dresses. A lot of the time she has no idea. She hasn't tried a wedding dress on before. So she'll come in, she'll go upstairs. We'll talk about her. We listen to the bride. We listen to what she's telling us. We'll say, how do you want, the first thing I'll, say, obviously very exciting, but how do you see yourself walking down the aisle? A lot of brides will have a little Pinterest board made up, or, and they'll want to show you things. So you listen to everything she's telling you. She'll either be a quiet bride, she'll be a fashion bride, she'll be a quirky bride. And you listen and you don't speak, you just listen and soak everything in that she's telling you. And then you come downstairs and you think, right, what have I got for her? What's going to wear? And in my head anyways, upstairs, before I even come downstairs, I'm thinking, this dress, that dress, Louise, and all these dresses are going through my head. Because I'm looking at her, I know what size she is. And we sell dresses from a size 6 to 36. So I know roughly what size she is by looking. I know her personality. So I know, and then I'll have an idea of what she wants to wear. She'll be telling me. So usually we can have it within the first 6 dresses. Sometimes I have to try maybe 10 or 12 on just to eliminate things. But, it is. And the satisfaction, see, when they say it is a lovely feeling. It's great.
Yes.
It is amazing. But do you know what? I have to say this. It isn't always like that. We do have really sad moments too, because there's reasons for people to get married. And I work with Hospice at Home. That's a charity that is close to my heart, and they do such an amazing job up there. And I've been up to the hospice a few times now, and they've had brides. So we are looking after brides that are literally going to die in a few days. So, but it's really special, and that moment, but also, it's pulling on your heartstrings at the same time. It is, honestly. We did a one not so long ago. In fact, I've done 2 in the last couple of months, but I did one and I went up and met her first, actually, up to the hospice, because she wasn't well enough to come to the shop. And so, I went up and I had my little meeting with her, and she was 3 years younger than me. So you could imagine how you do relate yourself to that person, don't you? She had 2 children. They had been together for 30 years, but they just hadn't really wanted to get married. And it's really sad when you have to get married to make it easier for the children and the husband when you've gone for money and all of this type of different thing. And anyways, chatted to her. I took up 5 dresses the following day, and she couldn't do a lot for herself, but we did get her into a few dresses. We chose the one and everything. And then obviously on the day I went up and helped her and everything. And then, they wheeled the bed and down, the aisle to her husband. It's the most emotional day I think I've ever, I can't even describe how I felt.
Surreal.
Yeah. And poor Lauren, my daughter Lauren, as you know, she's pregnant, and she just literally couldn't be in the room. She had to leave because it was just too hard for her. And Lauren is a strong person too. She said, Mum, I have to just wait outside. I have to go into the car. And I said, that's fine. So I stayed and we did that. And the 2 little girls, 11 and 9. And it was just so beautiful, but so emotional, so sad all at the same time. And it's barely describable, to be honest. I felt really numb. And afterwards, I couldn't take the dress away because the 2 little girls couldn't stop touching the mum wearing and stroke. And I just thought, you know what? That dress hanging in that wardrobe afterwards, I'll mean the world to them, won't it? Yeah. So afterwards, I was like, the girls at the hospice, I was like, that dress is for the girls now, and, she died a couple of days later, but I've done a few like that now, and I do work close with Hospice at Home, and I've done a big catwalk show charity event with the Holston and Genevieve actually, and raised quite a lot of money for Hospice at Home. But I do work closely with them, and we've done a lot of things with them. So we don't just all have glorious happy moments here in this shop. We do have some some very sad emotional times too.
I would never have thought you would do anything like that.
No.
What I mean? It's crazy.
Yeah. And then people that have come in and, believe it or not, bought a wedding dress, and then their partner's been killed in an accident not long before the wedding. we do deal with a lot of different situations. It was funny, I know, because you did Jill's podcast, and I thought, God, poor Jill dealing with really sad times and things like that. And I thought, you know what, we've dealt with some things like that too. Everybody thinks it's amazing and it's happy, and it is the majority of the time. But then you get faced with that up against the, you know, and then COVID in our industry was a whole other story. COVID weddings, I can't even start explaining all about that. I could go on with you forever. I seriously could, because COVID was, that broke my heart when I left here for COVID. Man.
What was COVID like then?
Oh, well, what was COVID like? You couldn't get married.
I was going to say, yeah. What was like your thought process at the time? Because obviously, like you were told, like you say, to shut, and you're thinking, I've got all these staff. What do I do?
Staff, dresses, stock coming in, stock arriving, all being ordered, being made. What's going to happen? Everything's going through your head. Fear was the biggest thing.
Out of your control, isn't it?
Out of my control. And I am that person that likes to be in control.
Yeah.
And that was really scary. I literally cried my eyes out when I walked out of here and shut the door, took all the mannequins out the window, put a big sign up, and literally shut the door and thought, I have no idea when we're going to open the door again. I have no idea what's going to happen. Obviously, all of our brides at the time, we would have had a couple of 100 brides on our books, and dresses, a lot of dresses here. So Lauren, being Lauren, was like, Mum, fine, don't worry, it's great. I'm taking everything home. I'll take the office home, took the desk home, all of the customers' paperwork, everything. She took 30 dresses, she took rails, and she just said, I'll do a mini catwalk show. So before we knew it, we were emptying out the shop in the back of the van, and she was taking it all home. She was going to set up a shop in her bedroom just to keep Facebook going, Instagram going, keep brides happy, interested. She had every single bride to ring, any problems, you know, everything. I mean, it was unbelievable what happened. We spoke to people. We did little things on Facebook. Our suppliers were brilliant too, because they kept us, like, did Zoom appointments and meetings with us so that we could keep interacting. So to be honest, it was like there was nobody here, but we were all still doing this little in the background. I mean, the staff work was great because we furloughed all of them, kept in touch with them. We did little Zoom things ourselves, you know, games, this and that. And, but, you know, so it did flow. I mean, obviously, by the time we were coming to the end of it, trying to cut a long story short here, some brides in the end had to reschedule their wedding up to 5 times. Could you imagine that?
Well, Lauren didn't she? Lauren scheduled it a couple of times.
Lauren's was actually 3 times. So my own daughter was in there. So you knew how everybody felt, because my daughter's venue eventually closed out.
I remember that, yeah.
Yeah. So Lauren had got her
wedding. It was like
booked.
a Scotch Corner or something.
Yeah, Lartington Hall, stunning venue. So they moved it from one year to the next, a whole year on. Great. And then when you got nearer that time, they closed the wedding down. She's like, do you know what? I'm going to get married in Miami. I thought, great. 12 of us in Miami, loved every minute. Wouldn't change a thing. Then she had a night to, like a celebration, as you know, when we got back. But everything happens for a reason. They had Ivy in between. You know, it's not the end of the world, is it? And everybody panics when it's the wedding because it is the biggest day and it is emotional. We were dealing with people up here and people just dead easy going down here. The level of difference between the customer was huge. When I came out of COVID in the men's shop, it nearly put me in the flipping garlands. I'm not joking you. Because the stress of all them weddings suddenly getting into one year, the hire company nearly went into meltdown. In fact, Moss Bros ended up on Watchdog. That's how bad our industry became. Because they couldn't service it, because it's all hire companies. They can't service everybody at once. They had all of these weddings that just tried to get squashed into so many months, and it just like went into meltdown. 4 times I had my son drive to Glasgow to where our suits come from for hire, and to pick things up. I was at dropping off suits at 11 and 12 o'clock at night, customer suits. Then I was going back the next morning to take them up because I was sending anything out. There wasn't the service that anybody had ever been used to the whole time we have had the shop. I've been doing hire suits for 10 years. So it wasn't the service, and they were phoning up and this and that, and every day it was something, and it was like, wow, what? Actually, it was speechless what was happening and what we were having to deal with, and people's weddings. And like you say, you don't get a second chance, and it's happening, it's rolling. So you being the caring, like passionate person and that you are, you're so scared that you're gonna get it wrong for somebody and you're going to spoil their day, and this is going to have that. And I'm a one for, I'll make sure I can put it right. If I physically can't, I will. You know, we do take up our own trousers. We do all of this. So I was bringing them back. I was sewing them. I was taking them back the next morning. I was doing so many out of the ordinary things that you would not get from your normal, like those types of shops. It's only small independents that can go that extra mile with the service. And that's what we had to do. And it was really hard. It's the hardest time I've ever had was the men's side coming out of COVID. And we did so many out of the ordinary things for people to get through. And we got through, and we had no really, upset people because we made sure we pushed hard and
just
worked.
It needs to be done.
Had to be done when it comes to weddings. The brides wasn't so bad because their dresses arrived so far ahead. So, everything was quite smooth at that side. We did have a few changes. We had a few brides' weight gains, was quite, we had a few of them. But we dealt with all of that. And, the suppliers were good too, because a dress is made for a customer. It's not just made, we're waiting for somebody to order it. Everything is made to order. That's why they're so expensive. They're one-off pieces.
Yeah.
So we either had to, let it out, or the supplier was actually that good that they were starting to let us move things as well. So we had a little bit of movement. So got over it all. We're still here. Yeah, high five. Let's do it. Let's roll with it.
So after COVID then into now, what's it been like after, and then what's next to you?
So yeah, after COVID is well behind us now. We are at the end of that. The distant memory. The last one went off the books like literally not that long ago, believe it or not. It has taken because a lot of things have happened. People have had to put the weddings back for money reasons, for loads of different reasons. So there's been all sorts to deal with. There's been dresses hanging up there, some of them for 3 years. But anyways, we've come to this funny position now, believe it or not, because we've obviously put the bar in. We've actually made some changes through COVID, so it allowed us to go computerized. So we're very posh. We have Bridal Live. We operate a great American all singing dancing system, which a lot of the RBA shops run. They're called cream of the crop shops, as I would say. It's brilliant, does everything. And it talks to all our suppliers, customers. They get everything is just at the touch of a button. And so it allowed us all the time. And it did take about 6 months to set it up and get used to it. Took me and Lauren could do that through COVID, so give us the time to do all of that. So we went there. Then we started working by appointment only, which then made us streamline the shop, which was a lot better. And so we did make some changes. But we've hit this little, obviously, money's an issue for people at the moment. So we're finding that. So we're trying to, bring in something a little bit different so that it's in that more affordable bracket. And obviously, as everything changes, you're changing with it because you're trying to keep up with it. And obviously, you still want to service the brides in our area. Our area is very different to Glasgow, Manchester, Newcastle. Carlisle is like a town, not a city. It's a city, but it's the town feeling, so we deal with that too. But think about it from COVID. It has gone a little bit quiet for us, which it does feel scary, but we talk like we're in this big group with, and we talk, and all these shops, we all talk together, but we're all doing the same things and we're all feeling the same things, which is good. So that it's not just you.
But I mean, the boom
that would be scary.
after COVID, and then it's just kind of
we've done a
leveled
drop.
off. Yeah.
Yeah. It doesn't feel like a level off. It feels like a dip.
Yeah.
Because we think about it, for a whole year, there wasn't all them people dating. They weren't meeting up. They weren't getting engaged. All of that. So the industry talks, the Bridal Buyer magazine. So we've got all of this feedback now coming through eventually. And they're saying, there will be a dip between now and maybe next February because people weren't getting engaged. They weren't dating. They weren't meeting one another. So how can we expect all these weddings when we've had a year and a half of not that?
Yeah, it makes sense when you say it like that.
And thankfully you have to have a reason, because I have to find a reason for something, because I would be panicking out of me thinking, right, okay, what do we need to do now? But, Lauren, come on, what we're thinking of? Get a reel on, do something. We have to, this is the way we go. But, so luckily, but you still got to get around that. So you just have to be a little bit more cautious when it's like that. So, yeah.
Interesting. So what would you say, have you had any regrets or any mistakes you've made over your time? No mistakes, only lessons.
Lessons, honestly, I don't feel like I've made any mistakes. I mean, nobody's perfect. You only learn by your mistakes. If I'm making mistakes, I love making them because I'm learning by it.
Make the same one twice, you're an idiot though. If you make the same one twice, you're an idiot though.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, for sure. So always looking forward. I wouldn't change anything. when I look back over my life, I wouldn't change anything at all. And no mistakes. I honestly feel that, it's...
Because you were saying, like, you've lived your life and you look back and you think, I've had a good life, don't you?
I've done a lot of things.
Which is what you want. It's what everyone wants, isn't it?
Completely. Like when I think about like growing up and all the things, I used to think, God, my mum must have been demented with me. I had running around the country. But then I did the same for my own kids because they did stage right, they did dancing, they did gymnastics, they did horse riding. They just did everything. But you want them all to have that life experience, to decide, to learn who they are, what they want to do and all of that. And then all the crazy things that I do, like I am an adrenaline junkie. I mean, I flew an aeroplane. I wanted to fly an aeroplane. So when I met my partner, Dave, he pushes me to do everything that I talk about that I want to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember going to Newton Ards in Northern Ireland one day, and he said, "You're going up in an aeroplane." I was like, and he had a friend that had his own little plane. He's like, he's taking you up. He's going to let you drive it. Is that what you do? Drive a plane?
I think so.
I was like, oh my God. I've never been as excited in my life. I got in the plane. I was there. I was holding it. I was like, this is great. Dave was in the back.
Shitting himself.
He doesn't like heights, but we hadn't been together that long and he was trying to impress me.
Oh, but he was really like, oh my God.
To impress me. And I was like, oh my God, this is the best thing I've ever done. Because he knew I jumped out of an aeroplane and I loved it that much. And so he like, off we go. And I couldn't really see him in the back, but I could, he went really quiet and we got up there and then, Ryan was telling us what to do and, we had the headsets on and all of that. And then, we had and he was like, I'll take you. And he was on about doing like doing little sort of like, when you do little things. And Dave was like, I turned round and I looked behind. He was going to do that for me at the end. So I turned around and David sunk right down into his seat like that. And the sweat beads were coming down there on his face. Honestly, Adam, he was sweating and he was green.
He probably thought you were going to pay him off after that. I
said, Dave, are you all right? And he was like, well, and Ryan turned out, I go, oh my God, Dave, do you want us to land the plane? And he was like, well. And do you know what my friend said? I was like, oh my God, you spoiled my iPhone. I was like this. And he was like, he literally was green. I've never seen anything like it. I was like, right. And Ryan, we literally stopped. We were going to go somewhere else, and all these beautiful islands in Northern Ireland. We were going over everything. And we had to go back.
Oh.
I'd already been up for half an hour. Me thinking I'm going to be doing some exciting like moves and that. And he was like, so we had to go back. He's like, I'll take you up again sometime, Carol. So that was
You're still with him now as well. He doesn't embarrass himself too much.
And then I've done skidooing through Iceland on the. That was really
Iceland's cool. Yeah,
Iceland's amazing. So that was something else. I've rode a camel.
Really?
Rode a camel through a Christmas parade dressed as a king.
What?
Ask me to do anything. I love a challenge. I'll just say, yep, I'll do it. It is all about, fitting as much as you can into your life, isn't it?
I think that's important though, isn't it? Like so many people do say no to things and you look back at it and you think, oh my God, that's so cool, isn't it?
Try and do as much as you can. And since I've met Dave, I mean, we've only been together for 3 years. I can't actually believe it's been 3 years. And having a whole decade on my own, my whole 40s was on my own with the kids, single mum. And I didn't get to do as much travelling as what I would normally do. I only had a couple of holidays. I never left the shop for more than a week. Mm-hmm. And I would maybe go once in the year, twice at the most. And obviously, I have a lot of catching up to do.
So
people well,
I know about it because I've been trying to get you on the podcast all year. So I'm sorry I'm going here, there and everywhere. But Lauren's put you on a band now, isn't she?
I'm on a band. Well, Lauren's baby's due tomorrow. So she's actually only left the shop yesterday for maternity leave. This is how we all
Terrible boss.
Oh, do you know what? So anyways, yeah, and she's gone into hospital tomorrow. So the baby is going to come tomorrow.
I'll be born by the time it comes out.
Guess what? I've been on a ban for 2 months and I'm like thinking I'm stranded.
I remember,
yeah. So she's like, oh, Mum, for God's sake, you're not being helped. But anyways, my kids they love seeing you do everything and I love seeing them doing things as well. It's important. It's great.
Right. Let's wrap this up because we've been going on nearly an hour and a half. Is there anything else you want to say? There's a lot you've probably missed, to be fair.
It's not really. I mean, I am the person I am, I think, through like the guidance of my parents. I mean, I wouldn't be who I am without them. So I'm very grateful for everything that they've taught me and given me. And, I'm passing the same things on to my kids. I think as you grow up, you don't have to be the brainiest person on earth to do the best in life. You have to make your life the way, you have to do it yourself. You steer your own life. So I try not to turn down opportunities, and especially things that I've not done before, like this, Adam. I'm like, when you've
turned this down enough times.
Yeah. And you did ask me a question here, my strengths. And I said, I am a perfectionist. I am a true Aries woman. I'm an Aries. I'm a natural leader here. I am very independent, but I am, passionate, and I'm like resilient, and I just, I never thought about myself like that before. I always just I'm hiding in the background, and Dave's always said, get out there and do that. You can do that. So, this has kind of made me do that now. So I think I'll be a little bit better in the future.
Yeah.
But my weakness is I am impatient, very impatient. And,
give us an example then.
When I have an argument.
Yeah. Surely you don't argue.
Dave will, if he'll be listening to this at some point, he will say,
he needs to come on and give his side.
When I'm wrong, he will. When I'm wrong, I'm not very good at apologising.
Admitting you're wrong.
And I will say that now, Dave, that I know that I am like that. And I probably am not the easiest person to live with because I've lived on my own for 10 years. So that's probably my weakness is that.
Nice. So right, let's plug the shop. Where can people find you? Where can people follow you? All that good stuff.
People can find us on Warwick Road, 19 Warwick Road, and they can follow us on Instagram and Facebook. We are learning and doing TikToks and all of those Facebook reels. Obviously, Adam, I didn't say much about the men's shop, to be honest.
No, just
that's a real hidden gem. Nobody, it's hard because we have everything out there, but when you're not ground floor and people don't visually see you in their eyeball, people are blind when they're walking around the place, aren't they?
Yeah.
So we do a lot on there, and obviously we do a massive amount in wedding suits, but we have a great men's shop.
I know all about that.
Yeah, collection of men's suits in the town, without a doubt. We have over 100 men's suits, a choice of men's suit up there. And, we do shoes and shirts and all the accessories. So yeah, for a suit for anything, there is some great bagging there too. So,
Where can people follow you, and what was the websites, all that kind of stuff?
Again, just fellowsmenswear.co.uk, girlsdial.co.uk. We have Instagram, we have Facebook. Please give us a like and a follow.
Especially on Instagram, this is a new Instagram, isn't it?
Yes,
on the bridal
we
one.
got our Instagram hacked for our bridal shop, and we lost a lot of followers. So we're just trying to build that back up again. That was gone in an instant. And, it's amazing how social media, can help business too. But obviously people do support us, so and people like you will help. I'll have one in again one day. Sure. The day.
Someone who's married as well. I know. I rock up and then I'm like, hey, who's the bride? And it's like, oh yeah, Rosanna or whatever. She's got a husband and 3 kids. I was like, oh, well, this isn't going to be awkward meeting her for the first time. We're doing a shoot for like 3-4 hours.
So the only other thing that I do is Cumbria's premiere wedding show. So, obviously got involved in that. So be a great model down that catwalk too. Yeah.
I need to start charging for this.
The race course a couple of years ago, and it is the biggest wedding show. We do have, last year we had about 55 or 58 exhibitors. It was great. So, that's another little string to our bows to say. So, I do that with Carol Mills, who owns an event company, and Lauren as well. So the 3 of us, pulled that together a few years ago, and it's really helped, mainly for coming out of COVID.
Yeah.
And brides, needing something to go to and help it, and helping the suppliers too, because they all wanted to get back out there. And obviously that's something we hadn't had for 2 years. So yeah, Cumbria's Premier Wedding Show is another Facebook page to follow too.
Nice.
Either or.
Right, everybody. Hope you've enjoyed it. I've enjoyed it. I feel like I've been in a roller coaster. We've been everywhere, haven't we? So if you're watching on YouTube, make sure to subscribe, like the video, comment your favourite part, any questions for Carol, leave it in there. If you're listening on Spotify, Apple, make sure to follow the podcast and leave a 5-star review. And we'll see you next time. Bye, 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 bye.